Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast designed for people who want to build a magnificent life, profitable business, and lots of wealth. Everything you desire is waiting for you to claim it. There's no creating involved, only invention through imagination and building through action. You are at the center of all your desires, dreams, and achievements. Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast that's all about your success, achieving your goals, building wealth through your business, and building your most passionate, powerful, magnificent life. Discover ways to use your purpose to connect you to serving others and living your dreams. I am Pat Council, and I know you are built by design to win. And it all begins with knowing how to tap into your success energy. Let's get on the path of discovery, decisive action, development, and unwavering dedication to your life's calling. It's time to embark on a transformative journey where your deepest passions become your most rewarding achievements. Embrace your power to shape your destiny, because this is your moment to do life with power. Hello, Power Up Nation. I am Pat Council, and today I am going to talk about true freedom only happens with change. Now, for those of you that are listening to this and you're in other parts of the world, you may know that in America, we're about to celebrate Independence Day. So with that being said, I thought this would be a great topic to share. And we're not going to talk about Independence Day necessarily as it relates to the country, but we're going to talk about Independence Day as it relates to you and you achieving your personal goals, you doing life with power, you building your magnificent life and getting to where it is you want to be. So I'm going to share 2 areas where change must take place if you're going to have that true freedom. So let's get into this. Well, actually, before I get into this, we are coming up on our Masterclass, Build Your Own Income. And I can tell you, people are signing up. It's great. I'm super excited to meet you guys, and I want to meet more of you. There is still room. So go to designingyourlifeachieversacademy.com, and you can click on the Build Your Own Income thumbnail, and it will take you to the course. Or you can go to designingyourlifeachieversacademy.com/course/build your own income. That's a lot of words, isn't it? Or simply just click on the link in the show notes. Okay, so there, I've made it easier. Either designingyourlifeachieversacademy.com and click on that thumbnail that says build your own income, or just click on the link in the show notes. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about true freedom. You know, true freedom only happens with change. And I'm not just talking about this because it's Independence Day here in America, or it will be tomorrow. So I'm not just talking about it because of that. I'm talking about this subject because of a person that called me a few days ago, and that person has called me before, and every time they call me, they have a problem. There is a problem that they want to solve, a business problem. And so each time they call me, they make the story more desperate, more dire, more needy, that, oh my goodness, this is the end of the earth here, or the end of the world, the way they make it sound. And this is not to make light of what they're feeling. However, whenever I give them the answer, they don't do it. And then they call me back again, and they want me to tell them something, I guess, different. And I keep telling them, listen, there is nothing new that I can tell you. I've given you the solution. And when I gave them the solution the first time, they didn't do anything. So then when they called me again, I gave them a solution. They didn't do anything. So then when they called me the third time, I said, okay, well, first of all, I'm a business coach. Secondly, this kind of coaching is not free. And while I do empathize, because I know what it's like to want to learn something and not have the money. But you guys have heard me share on different episodes that when I needed the money, I sold whatever I had to sell so I could get to where it is I needed to be and get the coaching that I needed. Now, I'm not saying that this person has to do the exact same thing, but what I'm saying is there has to be a sacrifice made. Because when you're willing to make a sacrifice, and this is not a part of the two areas that I'm going to talk about, but this is just as valuable. And when you make the sacrifice, what you're saying is, I am willing to do what it takes to get to where it is I really want to be. And I'm very serious about learning something. And that is a part of change. And I'll tell the story again, the short version about the little handheld television that I sold. And this was years ago when I first got into business and didn't have any money at all. I had to part with that television. It was cool. It was convenient. I could watch television on it whenever I wanted because it was handheld. It was amazing. It was fun. But I had to give it up, which was a form of change. And it was also me making a commitment to my own success. So when you want to have freedom, I think sometimes people are under the impression that, okay, I want to have this great life. I want to have these great relationships. I want to be in peak physical shape. So they want these things, which is why actually television shows are so popular, because people look at the television shows and they kind of live vicariously through that person. And they start to admire that person. Oh, she's in such good shape. Oh, he is so perfect. And so they start to kind of glamorize this person in their minds without realizing that, wait a minute, I can become the exact same thing. And when I say the exact same thing, you don't want to be like someone else. But I mean, in terms of being as healthy as possible, because you have a body as well, creating wealth or building wealth, I should say, manifesting wealth, because everything's already been created. We're not going to talk about that on this podcast, but everything has already been created. But we do discover things and we put little pieces together to kind of co-create something, if you will. We manifest it and we bring those parts together. But we're not going to talk about that, at least not on this podcast. We'll talk about it another time, because that's a subject I've been wanting to address. And I've got to do a little bit of extra research. So with that being said, the point that I'm getting to is that we have to be willing to make some changes to get to where it is we want to be. So I have to ask you a question. I mean, are you hoping for financial freedom? More personal freedom? Would you like to have better relationships? Or how about your physical fitness? Would you like to have a better physique? So if you've set personal and business goals that you've never achieved before, until you achieve that goal, there's kind of a part of you that feels somewhat lacking. You feel as though you're missing something. You feel as though you're not necessarily whole, which, by the way, you are a whole human being. You just have to embrace it. Maybe you even feel as though the goal it's not meant to be. You start to talk yourself out of it. So that doesn't give you that feeling of freedom. Okay. All of a sudden, you're more inhibited as opposed to being uninhibited. So you can flow freely to have that magnificent life, that successful life, that fun, exciting, life where you're getting the things that you want, because it doesn't seem to be happening. So there's no freedom in that. And the point is that you don't really feel like you're soaring. You don't feel like you're on top of the world. You don't feel like, you know what? Have you ever heard the saying, the world is my oyster? You don't feel like that. So you don't feel as valuable as you really are. But let me tell you this again. You are extremely valuable. You are whole, and don't give up on the goal just yet. Now, because the simple solution to getting to that feeling of freedom is the right changes must take place. So true freedom only happens with change. But here's the kind of the, I guess, answer to the test, if you will, is that when you have a goal and you've set this amazing goal and it's not happening for you and you don't feel free, well, the reason why you want to make the necessary changes or the right changes is because in order for you to manifest the goal or achieve the goal and get the results, you actually have to feel as though it's already done. You have to feel, if you want let's say a new car, you actually have to feel as though that car is sitting out in your driveway or in your garage, or you have to get the feeling of what it feels like to drive that car. Okay. You have to, even if you have to pretend in your mind, in your imagination. So what happens when you do that is all of a sudden you're going to start to realize, wait a minute, I'm going to have to make some changes so that I can get the things that I desire, so that I can have this free life. So I don't feel as though I'm being controlled by everyone else and everything else. Okay. And that you have no recourse, that there's nothing you can do, and that you can't get out of whatever situation you're in. Okay. So in order to get that feeling of true freedom, here's, as I said, you have to feel as though it's done, and then the changes will have to come. So what I'm going to do is share really quickly 2 areas where change must take place. Okay, so the first one is you have to take a look at the present you. You have to be fully aware of who you are today. That doesn't mean that you beat yourself up, you put yourself down. It doesn't mean that you talk about who you're not. Okay, because I want to let you in on a little secret. The mere fact that you desire, let's continue to use the car. The mere fact that you desire a new car, that means that new you, the person that you have to become so that you can earn the money or do what it takes to be in position to receive a new car, that person already exists within you. But you have to give it permission to come out. So to achieve something different, you need to know who you must become, and you have to be willing to change. So the question is, are you willing to change? Most people, I can't say most people because I don't know most people, but let's say I know of people who want the world to bend to their will. Okay. And when I say bend to their will, in other words, there are spiritual laws that they're just irrefutable. They're not going to move. Okay. So, and they're immutable, meaning that it doesn't matter how much time passes by, it's not going to change. These laws aren't going to change. Okay. So we got spiritual laws. We've got natural laws. And of course, then there's what we call the universal laws, and there's differences in these laws. However, some of them we can actually modify, but you can't. Spiritual laws, you can't change them. So with that being said, the point that I'm getting to is that people want to achieve something. They want to have this feeling of freedom, and they want to receive what comes with being free, but they don't want to make the changes to align with the necessary laws that will allow them to manifest the things that they desire to manifest, the life that they desire to build, that magnificent life. So I can tell you, how do you know if that's you? Because been there, done that. Okay. And you may have heard the phrase, let go and let God. Okay. Well, it took me a minute, because I'm thinking I'm letting go. I'm thinking I'm following God's plan for my life, but actually I'm kind of running that show into overtime. And again, we'll talk about that on another podcast as well. We're going to talk about the whole concept of letting go and what that looks like and feels like. However, the point is, until the change is made, you're going to remain stuck. So if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again on that treadmill of life, and you're not getting any results, then that's a sign that there's some changes that needs to be made on your part. See, a lot of times we try and change the other person and we blame the other person. But the reality of it is, true freedom, it only happens with change, and that change has to come from the person who wants the freedom. So you have to be willing to align with whatever goals, whatever desires you have. You have to be willing to align with those goals by becoming what you desire. And we've talked about this before. We will talk about it again, because I want to explain that and make sure people understand what that means, because they're thinking, well, how can I become rich if I don't have the actual physical cash? Well, the short answer is you become wealthy in the mind. That's where everything really begins, in the mind. Okay, so with that being said, so take a look at the present you, and then figure out, who do you need to be in order to really get that life that would make you feel truly free? Okay, what do you need to look like? What do you need to feel like? All of that. So take a look at that. Here's the second one that I have for you. You have to change the seeds that you sow. In other words, change the actions and the energies that you put out on a daily basis. Be aware of what kinds of energy that you're putting out. Also, one other thing that you want to be aware of, you need to be aware of when someone else is trying to usurp some of your energy by blaming you and saying that there's something wrong with you and that you need to change. Now, granted, 9 times out of 10, there is something you need to change, but you get to decide that. So that's my little caveat. But you change the seeds that you sow because you desire to change those seeds. And you need to know what seeds you need to change or stop planting, and start planting the right seeds. So, for example, if you want to change your physique, how your body looks, if you want to change and have a healthier body, then you can sow or eat healthy food. But if you are eating unhealthy food now and perhaps saying, you know what, I don't need this, but you're still eating it, or you say, I shouldn't have this, but you still eat it, then you're still sowing the same seed and you're still going to get the exact same results. So you have to do something very different to get a different outcome. One final example as I wrap up here. When it comes to like the seeds that you sow, another example is, if you want to increase your income, then you have to do what brings the increase. Back to the story that I shared in the beginning. The person that calls me every so often to tell me what their problems are, but they're not doing anything differently. So they're having the business problems, and oddly enough, the problems seem to be increasing. And so, because they're taking no action. So every time this person calls me back, then the problems have amplified. Okay, so she's exacerbating the problem by ignoring the problem. Okay, or thinking that someone's going to come to her rescue without her first making some kind of changes on her part. So when it comes to wanting to increase your income, do you need a better plan? Do you need to be honest about your work ethic? Do you need to take a look at the people you surround yourselves with? Do you need to pay attention to who you're taking advice from? Sometimes people want to take advice from people who've never, ever done well in business. Now, I find that you can always learn something from someone. Now, you can learn what you don't want to do, but let's just say hypothetically, if they've never earned a penny, that does not mean that they can't look at perhaps your plan and make it, let's say, a little more strategic. Okay. Because some people just have that gift. But at the end of the day, you don't stop there. Okay. You listen to someone who's been there, done that, and who has a track record. Okay. But if you keep taking advice from the same person who's not generating anything, and you're wondering why you're not getting any results, and I'll give you a more real example. This person, another person that I was having a conversation with, and I was sharing with this person, I said, okay, if you do this, this, and this, then you're going to make X number of dollars. And so about a week went by, and I get a phone call saying, well, I talked it over with my wife, and my wife thinks I should do X, Y, Z. Okay, so what does your wife do for a living? Well, my wife is a school teacher. Okay, all right, so what does your wife teach? Does she teach, I don't know, business or something? No, she actually teaches kindergarten. Now, you don't totally discount a person because of that, but you do need to seek additional information from someone who has been there, done that. Then you put it all together. Okay. And I know people say, well, you don't take advice from someone who has not been where you want to go, or where you're going. And that's true. Well, it's true up to a point, because sometimes, just a lot of times when they do the surveys and they're asking the public, what do you think of this product? What do you think of this service? They can give some valid feedback. So yes, you can get valid feedback from a person, but no, you do not take all of your business advice from the person who has not been there, done that. So you have to understand, and when you take the advice, and I guess the point I'm making is, even if you decide to follow that person's advice, you follow it and you're getting the exact same results, and it's not the results that you want, you need to change. You need a better plan. You need to do something different. So if you really want true freedom, it can only happen with change. Okay. True freedom is something we crave. It's part of who we are as human beings. But we don't really like it. What we have to do to get to it. Okay. We're thinking that I guess a politician is going to give it to us. Yeah, that's never going to happen. But we won't get into that, because that's not what the purpose of this podcast is for today. So with that being said, you guys, what I want to suggest to you is that whatever your goals are, whatever your desire is, whatever you want to, whatever you think is holding you back, then I want you to decide, who do you need to become? Use these two ideas, okay? And take some notes. Get to know you. Write down some notes about yourself. You want true freedom? Get to know you. Hang out with you. Be honest about you and what you need to change and what you need to do better. And then either make a commitment to do that, or stay the same, and perhaps not complain as much, unless you're just complaining to yourself where no one else can hear. But that's another story. So listen, you guys, that's all I have for you. I want you to have a magnificent day. And I want you to do life with power, because you're built by design to win. Remember to check the show notes. If you do need a good plan, we're going to be talking about some really amazing blueprints, or your amazing blueprint, in my Build Your Own Income Masterclass. So do not miss it. I want to meet you. You'll get a chance to ask your questions live. And so we're just going to have some fun. And you can go and check it out. Go to designingyourlifeachieversacademy.com. Click on Build Your Own Income, or check the show notes. Do life with power.